Thank you, Hugo. Trudy, you're such a pleasure. Thank you so much. She's wonderful. Give her a hand, isn't she? Just beautiful. So I'm going to introduce one of my ministerial student heroes to you. Our local seaside hero, Rosedale Jones, such a beautiful, beautiful person. Just to tell you a little bit about her background, she gave me a background, but I threw away her bio because I know more about her than what she gave me, so I'm going to share it with you. She actually grew up in New York City, and she is a mother of two beautiful children and two beautiful girls, and she is a grandmother of two handsome boys. But what is really unique about Rosedale Jones is that she was a New York City cop for 13 years. Can you believe that? Can you imagine how many times she was a hero to so many people walking the beat, and also as an investigator in the Bronx and in Brooklyn? So this really intrigues me about her, but also not only that, but I've spent some personal time with her, and I recognize that she really has a passion for this teaching. She has a thriving practitioner business. She has many clients that she works with, and she has a deep passion for Ernest Holmes and the teaching, for evolving, for growing, for people, for the ministry. And one day I see her having her own center, being a senior minister, and having a thriving community. So let's give it up for our very own hero, Rosedale Jones.
I really like to. Thank you, Lori, Reverend Lori. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Give her a hand for being newly ordained. And you know what else? I want to thank so many of you who came out here from Escondido, Encinitas, Temecula, and Ramona just to see me. I think it is fabulous. So thank you. And what I want to talk about tonight is that thing that you have, I have, we all have. But I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But anyway, let's define hero, because I bet you for each and every one of us in this room, there's a different title, there's a different definition, there's a different thought of what a hero is. But the Webster Dictionary says a hero is a person who's admired for great and brave or fine qualities. That's what Webster says. Rosedale also added that it's a person with compassion and character. Now, in order to have all of those things together, first of all, you need to have a passion. So let me start in the beginning. I was 8 years old, and I used to spend all my summers with my grandmother in Florida, Live Oak, on her farm. She was one of my early heroes. She pointed me to the hero all the time. She taught me how to pray. When I learned how to pray and I saw things move, I said, wow, girl, you got this. You got it. Anything that happens, you can do it. You can handle life. This is 8 years old. Became a police officer. You know, that was all great. It was all fun and good. In fact, I'm going to tell you about the last 5 years as a police officer. I was assigned to youth in Queens. And these youth were all kinds of ways. Some of them were pretty good kids. Some of them were scared kids. Some of them were violent kids. But whatever they were, it was all good. Because when I said I would do this job, the hero came out each and every time. But guess what brought the hero out? People like this. Louise L. Hay. Ha-ha, thank you so much. Look, you know, when she wrote this book, Love Yourself, Heal Yourself, it brought out the best in these kids that I was dealing with. What we end up doing was making a deservability treatment that comes out of that, and before we talked in our little conferences, they would say that deservability treatment. I am deserving. I deserve all good. Not some, but a little bit, but all good. Because they said that, and at the end they said the universe is more than willing to manifest my beliefs. So here we're all saying this, but guess who else didn't know what we were saying? The other person, me. I didn't know this teaching, but I ran into these books. Wayne Dyer, there's a spiritual solution to every problem. Guess what? Ernest Holmes. I had this book sitting in my house, and I said, well, this one's a little, well, not yet. Okay, but I'll tell you about why that happened, because it was a little heavy, but the others were easy. And what I used to do was I put little cassette tapes out, and I went to the store, and I would get myself the little background noises, the ocean, the music, and just say these affirmations to them. So when I started noticing that kids were doing certain things and gave them the tape, I was listening to the tapes too. So guess who was growing? Me and them. Then I had another book. That was a powerful book as well. But let me tell you what I used to do with these books. When things go wrong, oh, I guess I'm the only one who that happens to, When things go wrong, I sit down and I go, all right, not all the time, because sometimes you forget. First you have to freak out and go, oh, crap. Then you go, oh, okay, all right, let's get it together, sit down. So you sit down, open the book, and see what message it has for you. Bam. So I get the message. But I want to tell you something about some of these young people. And one of the things I learned was every time I needed to know what to do, somehow I got the idea. Again, that's the hero once again coming on out, just saying, come, do this, learn it, just speak, it'll come out. I'll do it for you. So I went and I did it. One of the things I learned about how to keep from, a lot of riots and stuff was to basically just get to the main leader, and the one that was the biggest mouth, and the one that was the hardest and the coldest, and just talk to him about life and say, you really mean that? Do you really hate the world that bad? And all of a sudden they bring tears. When they bring forth those tears and we got that heart connection, it's going to be kind of tough for you to get, real tough at me out in the street. You're not going to be a toughie at me in the street. Because why? You're going to be saying to yourself, she already knows that side of me. I can't do it. Right? So now we got the real love showing out. Okay. After so many years of loving these kids and enjoying it, the regime changed. We got a new mayor. When we got a new mayor, it was no longer shaking hands with these kids and playing with them and taking them to football games. It was, if they get caught with something, lock them up and throw away the key. Well, needless to say, after about 3 or 4 years of that, I decided I'm done. When I left, I was kind of sad, because I didn't want to see that happen to them. I just didn't know what happened to many of them. But I knew one thing, that a lot of people's lives have changed, and I also learned how mine has changed. So once again, pointed to my hero again. But you know what that dark night of the soul is? Have you ever heard of it? But I tell you one thing about that dark night of the soul, it ain't always one night. That dark night of the soul could come, and it could be 3 weeks to 4 months sometimes if you ain't careful. So one night I was up, and when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, angsting, fear for no reason, don't know what the heck is going on with you, this is what was going on after a while. It was the separation from everybody after 2 years. There was no more fun anymore. Where do I go from here? Still, I forgot about my hero all this time now. You just got to understand that part, because you're always thinking about your little self. Oh, but what about this and this and that? Oh. Finally, I got tired of that. And I said to myself, sit down, pull up the Bible, and read it. And so it came up to this page. It's Psalms 39, 2, 4. And I thought about how I was feeling that night, and these words just came right out. I was silent and still. I held my peace, but to no avail. And my distress grew worse. My heart became hot within me while I mused, the fire burned. Then I spoke with my tongue. Lord, let me know my end and what is the measure of my days, and let me know my fleeting life. Well, that's telling me that I need more. I need to know who is my higher self. I need to meet my higher self. So that night, I think I calmed down just by asking these questions. And remember that book I told you about, Ideas of Power from Ernest Holmes? Well, what happened with that, I pulled that open. Now, usually, I really can't read that book. That book seems to be a little interesting, if you will, deep. When I pulled it open, I read a couple of things, but I got here. And you know, we're talking about Ralph Waldo Emerson here, but he said, I'm feeling all lonely and I'm feeling all desolate and everything. He said, how wonderful is the thought of God peopling the lonely places with his presence. And it's only when we become lonely enough that that which is alone gropes out and finds the alone in other things, and the loneliness is gone. Wow. I begin to say, hey, this is probably cool. You're not really so lonely after all. This book ain't so bad. Finish it. So it went on. Alone to the alone. The one to the one. The only to the only. But this is the powerful part. He said, we shall never practice our science unless we spend much time seeking that thing that's within us, which is beyond fear. That's where my hero was. I said, I found it. But I didn't say it that gleefully. I said, That's how I said it, because I wasn't quite sure, should I go there or not? I'm thinking, okay, so don't think it's all like, hey, I learned that, I'm good. I had to take that time, and I had to let it marinate. Still, I told you, these words were kind of awkward to me. I didn't kind of get Ernest Holmes right away, right? But I still read the stuff. But all along, from the time my grandmother taught me how to pray to every other day, guess where I was coming? The train was coming. And many a days, I got off the freaking train, guys. I got off the train, and I thought I was lost, but then I turned around and still had cars on it. The train is infinite. You can get back on at any given time. It's your choice, sister. Get your butt on back on this train. You thought it was cool to get off? No, sir. You can do whatever you want, because I will never leave you. You're not worthless. I will never leave you. When you're ready, wait. You know that saying, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear? That's what that power within me said. That's what that hero. I wish I could sing that song. There's a hero. But don't quote me on that one, y'all. But I was so excited to know that, damn, this is me. So here I am, still this young lady that I am today, still looking at some more beautiful heroes. So as I continue to look at heroes, I'm thinking how my grandma pointed me to my hero, Ernest Holmes pointed me to my hero, Louise L. Hay, the Bible. Everything I did was pointing me to my hero, but I didn't see it all before. I wanted more, I guess, huh? So then I see this guy here. One can learn to control his destiny if he learns to control his thoughts. I'm thinking, really? That's our founder. That's the founder of this teaching. Still, I don't know that, but I like what he says. I like even the inclusive part. I like all that stuff. I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. That's Ernest Holmes. So now I know where my hero is, and I know who the hero is, and I know now all I have to do is speak into it, and all I have to do is let it tell me. And how does it tell me? By some type of inspiration. All I got to do is say, oh man, I don't know what to do here. Let it go. Go to bed, maybe 3 weeks later, I know what to do. But do I angst over it? Maybe not. Probably take too long. But when you let go. So we have so many different practices. One is affirmative prayer. One is journaling. Another could be even spiritual prototypes. Another could be meditation. Maybe contemplation. Those books I read, I do a lot of contemplations on them afterwards. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to talk to that hero, because that hero is going to give you the best answers, better than anybody else could probably give you, because it's inside. And it's never left. And as many times as I got off that train, guess what I did? I got back on. Probably 20 more cars down, but that's okay. Life brought me here. And guess what else? Life's going to keep taking me. And I'm going to tell you about another particular hero who I'm really, really fond of. And that's the guy who wrote this book, Tattoos on the Heart. This is Gregory Boyle I want to introduce you to, because Gregory Boyle was a man with a lot of nerve. He's this Irish guy, really pretty well off. He doesn't write this book to give his life story. He writes this book to show us that people, no matter where they are, who they are, all they want is love. And when they get that love, it's all good. So what he did here was, he is actually a Jesuit priest, Jesuit pastor, Jesuit priest, Jesuit, I have to say it. And pretty much what he does is he has gone out. But let me tell you where he begins. Let's take him from the beginning. When he first started out, his first teaching job, he asked one of the girls, hey, I'm new here. And this is a high school in LA. And he asked them, how do I get to, you got any good tips for me? She said, I got 2. One of them, know all their names by tomorrow. The other thing, make sure they know you before you let them know what you know. Now, that fed his hero. Now, he's still thinking that he's going to his ministerial school, but at the same time, he's still thinking that he's going to be teaching at Santa Clara, where there is the Jesuit studies, and he's going to then do services there, and he's going to do this old, lovely, flowery thing. But he got placed in a place called Bolivia. And Bolivia was a very, very poor country. And he spent a whole year there. When he spent that whole year there in Bolivia, it changed his whole world. So, we could be looking around thinking that this is what we're going to do, but that hero in us whispers something else to us. And what he decided from there was, I'm going to live with the poor, and I'm going to share my life with the poor. I mean the lowest of the low, because I know that all you have to do is deal with love, and you will get everything done. You will get changes. You will see life. However, it wasn't that easy, but it was simple. A lot of death, a lot of pain, and a lot of heartache on his part. He saw a lot of people killed, gang wars. But this is the beauty of him. He learned Spanish. He learned street talk. He learned how to do all the things that these kids do. And what did he do? He actually let them know who he was before he let them know what he knew. So as he got to the point where he began to do that, every time somebody was changing their lives around, to turn their life around, somebody was killed. That's got to be painful. Would you say that was a hero? He just went through all of this pain and all of this worry for people. Here's another funny story about that. He was asked to come to the White House, and at the time, the First Lady said to him, "Why don't you bring 3 of your guys with you?" And he thought, uh-oh, you don't want to bring them. They curse, they do all kind of stuff, it's just wow. Ooh. So he said, well, I'm going to take these 3. But what touched my heart was the scene when he said, one of the guys, Andre, was getting fitted for his suit, and he's got tattoos everywhere, and he's looking at the mirror going, it touched his heart to see that, wow, I changed this kid from a T-shirt to a suit, and he sees his self. He sees that inner hero within him. What an impressive point. When he began to do that, and he began to see more and more of that, it really touched his soul. But don't get it wrong, though. Not everybody died in this story, but many did, and the ones that didn't always die, too, because they were gangbangers. Here's one story that a mother came in and brought her son to him who had gone straight to the Marines from high school, never went into the streets out there. One night he was on his way home from Bojangles, and when he got halfway home, one of the guys said, "Where are you from?" Now, he didn't know to say, "Oh, I'm from whatever," so he thought it was funny. So he said, "The Marines." Boom, boom. They just blew him away. That mother had to go out and watch him die. Now here comes Dr. G. They called him G. Brings him to the house, and he's in pain, but he has to hold on to his own dignity. So that's really a hero. So I'm thinking about all the wonderful things that that man did. Now I need to bring it back to us. Who is your hero? Where is your inner hero? And we got tons of them, but we got one big one. And it's the one that's always talking to us every single day. It's the one that helps us make a difference in someone else's life. What about you? Could you be my hero? Could be. Would you? And this is a beautiful thing. So on that note, I'm going to introduce back up our fabulous Reverend Laurie, newly ordained.
Yeah, all right. Let's bring Hugo back to the